Hey guys, it is day number 2 of 42 days of fitness business. Thank you to everyone who tuned in yesterday. There's someone mowing right outside my window, so it could get a little loud. Today I want to talk about qualifications. And one of the things that I hear so much from a lot of trainers, a lot of women who I work with, is that they don't feel qualified enough. So a lot of times they'll go back and they'll get more certifications or more degrees, or they'll feel like they just don't ever totally feel as though they have enough credentials and qualifications to train people on the internet. So I wanted to talk today about how qualified you need to be and what matters, what ultimately matters. So I'm not going to tell you that you don't need to be certified. I'm not going to tell you that you don't need any sort of credential. Obviously you do. But I think that a lot more than not, I see people maybe not taking action because they're scared that they're going to get found out, or they're scared that they're of imposter syndrome or fraud syndrome. You guys have heard this stuff before. So how do you start to get clients when you don't feel qualified enough? So first of all, one thing to point out is what comes first? Is it the qualification, or is it the experience, or is it the expertise, right? Is it the experience or the expertise? Both are important, but I would like to make a case for the fact that I think you can do both at the same time. So I think right now, if you're certified or you at least have at least one certification, that you're qualified to help someone. If you have a story that can help someone, if you have an experience that can help someone, you're qualified to share it. So that doesn't mean that we're diagnosing people with disease. We're not trying to treat disease or anything like that. We're not doing anything in the realm of being a physician, but at the same time, you're qualified to share your story. If you have a story or an insight or an experience that can help someone, you are qualified to share it. And I would even go one step further than that and say that not only are you qualified, but you're actually obligated to share it. Think about it. Social media, we have so many different ways to interact with people, and your story is a service. So if you're someone who, maybe you changed your body, or you changed your mindset, or you overcame something, big, or you lost 50 pounds and kept it off, or, you overcome an eating disorder, or you went through a period of grieving, your story can really help a lot of people. And I know that, it's sometimes a little bit tough to share those things. But if you want to be doing online personal brand business, it is important. Your story matters a lot, because a lot of us have around the same level of credentials. I think one of the things that is confusing for a lot of people is they go, I'm not qualified enough. But when you look around the industry, like, who is qualified enough? How do you even define the word expert? I know a lot of people don't like the word expert, or they don't like to call themselves an expert, or to say that they have an expertise, because it kind of feels a little bit like braggy, or it feels like, well, there's people, because you guys, we can look around the industry and there's always going to be someone who has more credentials than you, more letters after their name, they have more years doing what they're doing, they know more than you about biochemistry or science, or they read the research or whatever. But when I also think it's important that you realize that you don't have to know everything. If you know at least one thing that can help someone, or you know just a little bit more, or you're one step ahead of the person that you're trying to help, that you're qualified. And so yes, when we're talking about doing online training programs and nutrition, stuff like that, you should have at least a credential that makes you qualified to feel comfortable talking about that with your client, sharing your story. But if we're talking about social media, we're talking about blogs, we're talking about emails, feel free to share your stories. Feel free to share your experiences. They are a service. So what defines expert? For me, it is being one step of, if there's a market for something that you teach or and there always is. I believe that we can learn from every single person. There's something that we can learn from every single person we come across. You're doing people a disservice if you're not sharing that. So if you have, if you've mastered nighttime eating, or you've mastered, at-home workouts, or you've mastered time management around your exercise, you need to share that, because a lot of people are really struggling with those things. And so in terms of qualifications, how do you get more clients if you're not qualified? Here's the thing. I am a huge believer in experience. I don't know that there's a certain amount of personal training sessions you have to have, or number of years you have to be, but I am someone who does think you have to do some sort of grind. So I work with a lot of women who just got certified, and they go, Jill, I feel a little bit weird, like doing online training. Shouldn't I get a job at a gym first? And I'm like, yes, but actually simultaneously, you should still be building your online brand. You should still be sharing your stories and your expertise online in a social media sense or a blog sense, start your website. And yes, at the same time, you should have clients in person. You should get some reps under your belt, because the more clients you see, the more experience you gather, the more of a body of work that you create, the more confident and competent you feel moving forward. So the reason why, with JillFit, the reason why Moderation 365 actually came out, the reason why Moderation 365, how it came about, was because I wasn't really doing that. I was doing competition prep, but I kept getting a lot of women, and I was going through the same experience, who were really struggling with food obsession. And so I was like, man, I've worked with, maybe 100 clients, and out of 100, there's like 70 of them that are really, struggling with food obsession and neuroses around food. And I didn't have a tool for that yet. I knew about fat loss, and I knew about getting up on stage. I knew about weight training and adding muscle, but I didn't know about the mindset of food and like food obsession. And so that's how Moderation 365 and that concept and the glossary of terms and the tools and the strategies that all came out of that concept was an answer to a problem I was seeing with my clients. Had I not gotten all those reps under my belt, I wouldn't have known that that's what people need. So I think it's important that as you are getting certified, or as you are seeing, people in the gym, or you're seeing people across the desk, you have to be building your online platform at the same time, because there's so many more people online that need your message. And so for me, do you need more certifications? Here's what, a lot of people ask me, should I go and get this certification? Should I go and get that certification? And in my mind, you're qualified right now to share what you know. If you have a specific, a lot of people think, should I go back to school? Should I get an advanced degree? If you have a very specific expertise that you do want to bring up, so for example, if you're really interested in, food psychology, or, food science, or habit change, or something like that, yes, go back to school and get that, but don't get it because you don't feel qualified. I think it's really easy to chase certifications and chase credentials. Instead, go back because you just want to be like the bomb-ass expert at that thing. And it's not just for the letters after your name, it's because you want to understand and have a huge, deep understanding of that material. That's why you would go back and get a specific certification. So I deal with a lot of women who are, who want to be certified in pre and postnatal fitness. So they go to someone like a Jessie Mendel, and they want to be, certified to, like, they want a specific certification for how to train women, especially around like the hormonal considerations. So they go to Nardia Norman, who both of them have certifications for trainers in very specific areas. And it's, from my perspective, it's a nice business lesson, because now you're separating yourself from the pack if you have that specialized cert. However, that's very different than chasing certifications. Once you have one, let's go. Like, let's get some reps, let's get some clients, and let's get some experience. So you can be doing that in person as well as online. So it's going to take a little while, but I think one thing to remember is that, and this is just has been my mantra, is the person who has the right to do it is the one doing it. The person who has the right to do it is the one doing it. And what I mean by that is all of us can look out in the industry and we go, that person's not qualified. Who does she think she is? She shouldn't have that big of a following. She doesn't even have a certification, or her certification lapsed, or whatever it is. And by the way, your clients aren't really asking about your certifications. Like, not one of my clients have ever asked me about my certification. But something to keep in mind is we can look in the industry and we can name plenty of people who we don't understand why they have the success that they have. And the only answer to that is because they're fucking doing it. Because they're doing it. Yeah, maybe they have an amazing natural bone structure, genetics, whatever, but at the same time, they took action on that natural talent. And so while I think it's easy to go, that person not qualified, that person not qualified, and ultimately that's what we're worried about, right? We're worried about being judged by our peers. We're worried that we're gonna get called out by our peers. But I wanna remind you that your peers are not gonna be your customers. In fact, they're not really looking at your stuff that much. They're looking at their stuff to see who's looking at them. So remember, the people who need you are not your peers. They're your friends, acquaintances, family members, strangers who live in your town, who find out about you or read your blog or get your emails. Those are the people that are going to help make your business viable. And so speak to them. If they're struggling with nighttime eating, you are 100% qualified to say, hey, let me share with you what really works for me. And that's what we're talking about. So you don't need the buy the book, kind of experience. I mean, you don't need to have like the by the book, you know, perfect protocol driven thing for nighttime eating. Like just tell them what you would tell them. If someone came up to you in the grocery store and was like, hey Jill, I really struggle with, I'm super stressed out at work and I'm eating so much candy. Like, how can I stop that? Literally tell them what you know. What would you do if it were you? How would you go about fixing that situation or trying to navigate that situation? And just share that. And that's a huge value. And that same exact thing, that same exact conversation that you would have in person is exactly what you have online in a social media post or a blog or an email. Answer it Q&A style, just like that. So the person who has the right to do it is the one doing it. So yes, we can look around and be like, they're not certified, or they're not, they don't know anything, or they're just like some dumb Instagram model. Honestly, they're affecting people's lives. So obviously I think that Moderation 365 is the way, but there are plenty of nutrition programs that are the exact opposite of moderation that a lot of people get, results from. I ultimately personally think they're eventually going to get to a moderate place, but their results that they're getting for their clients are real. And so for you, if you're struggling with, I don't want to get called out, I'm worried my peers are going to be, call me out, have the experience. You'll survive it. Honestly, you're going to. If you're big enough, someone's going to say something, someone's going to disagree with you, and you're going to be forced to have that uncomfortable situation, whether it's online or in person or whatever, and you're going to survive it. I promise you. It's happened to me dozens and dozens of times. You're going to survive it, and you're going to be better off for it, and it's going to help you hone your message even more. I like when people disagree because honestly, for me, it's not about like I'm right, they're wrong, or they're right and I'm wrong. It's literally just like, let's have this discussion. I think this is really valid. So for those of you struggling, you are qualified right now. But in my mind, the way you get more qualified is get more reps. Get more clients. And if you're worried about taking someone's money because you don't feel qualified yet, do something for free. Just so that you can see or do a bunch of things for free. Eventually you need to start asking for money, but do some stuff for free. Help out your, friends, family, acquaintances. Just get some reps under your belt. And I promise you, with that experience, you're going to feel a lot more qualified. You're going to feel a lot more confident in the things that you do and the ways that you do them. So, qualified right now. Don't stress about it. Take action. Make sure you guys, if you're not in Action Academy, join. I'm going to put the link here so you guys can join. We just started yesterday, so you're not late or anything like that. Add yourself, and we'll get started. And I will see you tomorrow for another Q&A. Talk to you soon. Bye.